Do you want to rock your next Settlers game? Okay, so it's kind of technically a mountain, but if you want to learn how to make this lovely tile, please watch on and enjoy the video. So as with all the other Settlers tiles, I cut out a hexagon from XPS foam, 1/2 inch thick, and then I coated it with Mod Podge mixed with a little bit of paint to give it a little bit extra durability. And now, since I'm making a mountain tile, I'm gonna cut out little pyramid-ish shapes for mountains. I'm gonna try and make them look a little bit like rocks. So I just cut up some little blocks of foam, and now I'm going to glue them together, and I'm going to use toothpicks to hold them together while the glue dries, because I'm too impatient to actually wait for the glue to fully dry before moving on. So we'll see how that goes. If you got the time, it's better to wait in general. Yep, so these pieces shift a little bit, but that's not a big deal because I just need to get a little bit of a cone shape going on. So I'm going to take my rickety old knife and chop away. I think that looks pretty decent for an overall shape. I'm getting glue everywhere, so definitely would recommend waiting, but I'm impatient too, so yeah, you gotta pick one or the other. Oops, my bad, sorry about that. Yeah, either you can have a really great result, or you can have a decent result but fast. And sometimes fast is just a little bit more important to me. So next thing, I'm going to just take my finger and just kind of gouge the surface of the foam and just dig away pieces. Yeah, I'm trying not to move this thing too much, but it does what it wants. And since we're removing so much foam, it's important to start bigger than you want at the beginning. Black Magic Craft has a really nice tutorial on making rocks in general, and so that's kind of what I'm trying to follow here. So if you're looking for a little bit, I don't know, more experienced advice, I'd check him out. I'll link up the video to the card or something if I remember. So that's looking pretty good. I have a little bit of work to do on the edges to clean up, but I'm going to wait for this thing to dry before I worry about those too much. I'll probably end up also making it a little bit more lopsided since it's pretty symmetrical-ish, but this is all really just to personal preference. Yeah. So I did a little bit more forming of this mountain after this glue's been dried, and I think it looks pretty good. So now I'm gonna glue it onto the base and cover it with Mod Podge, and then I'm gonna probably sprinkle some of these around the outside as well to give a little bit more character to it, I guess. So now that that Mod Podge coat has dried, it's a pretty good base coat for black, but there's a few spots where it's not quite opaque, so I'm just going to do a second layer of just plain old paint. And there's also some spots I missed. I'll just fill those in with black paint. So now that the base coat's all dry, I'm going to do a dry brushing of a darker gray. I don't have an actual dark gray, so I'm just going to mix in one up real quick. And for dry brushing, use a kind of junky brush, since, yeah, the way you're painting is basically abusing the brush. So I'm just going to dab off most of the paint and then brush over the surface. Dark gray, once this dries I'll do a lighter gray. The main point of dry brushing is to add some depth to the terrain. So since the brush is mostly dry, the paint only gets on the very outside bits, which leaves the deeper, more recessed parts black and adds depth. Now that that first coat's dry, we're just going to do the same thing with a slightly lighter gray. I got a little bit too heavy up here, but I guess we're just gonna make it work. I think putting a little bit of a black wash on it will help tone that back, but just be careful, especially right after you dip your brush in paint. It's gonna come out really heavy if you don't wipe off enough of the extra paint on your paper towel. You can see too how nicely it brings out some of this foam texture, which can look like a bit of a rough rock, which I really like. Looks pretty sweet. As soon as the dry brushing is done, I'm just going to apply this homemade black wash. It's just paint, water, and a little drop of dish soap to keep it mixed together. I'm going to shake it up a little bit, and then I'm just going to apply it to there. I'm just going to sponge up this extra pooled up wash. And really the main purpose of the wash is to, again, add some more dimension to the model. And wash really will help tone down some of the really bright highlights, and also it pools in the crevices and gives it some more depth. So this hex was very easy to make. The only thing that I really didn't like was gluing all these little bits onto the base. Made it very difficult to get the black down in these crevices. Even now I think there's still a few spots where the green foam shows through. So that was really poor planning. My impatience did make that a little bit easier. Since the glue hadn't fully dried, I could shift them around and get in there a little bit better with the paint. But I do like how it turned out color-wise. It would have been a lot of work to paint all the little bits ahead of time, so I'm not really sure what a better way to do that would have been. But I also really like how the wash toned down these really bright highlights. You can still see how I went a bit heavy on the lightest gray dry brushing, but I think it still looks really nice. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing if you want to see more videos like this. You can also leave a comment down below. Let me know if you enjoyed this and if there's other content you'd like to see me create. And with that, I'll see you in the future.